Good morning. Welcome to Chosun Ilbo Asian Leadership Conference webinar on Metaverse. Recently, everybody talks about the Metaverse. Everybody heard about the Metaverse, and many people think about the Metaverse, and many industries have great interest on Metaverse. It gets huge attention from the public, especially with the special conditions including COVID-19. This technology might be an alternative reality to enable people interact and enjoying life without even physical contacts. So many new services are appeared and it is under development. And some says that metaverse would be the next big thing. Today we will talk about what is the metaverse and how it could change our daily life. I'm Hyun-suk Kim, professor in Department of Computer Engineering, Konkuk University. I'm very honored to be a moderator of this session with two distinguished speakers. For this session, we have invited two distinguished speakers around the world who is leading this industry and have broad experience in metaverse and its related services and technologies. Mr. Dan Lejerskar, chairman of Eon Reality, is leading the virtual reality and augmented reality industries. In 1998, he established the Eon Reality company and developed the 3D technology and software contents. And Eon Reality and Dan Lejerskar aim for easing information inequality. Yeah, that's a really important problem by educating people on how to utilize VR and AR. Over 40 million people, wow, that's huge amount of number. 40 million people are educated with VR and AR technology via practicing applications created by Eon Reality. Thank you for joining us, Dan.
And thank you for having me.
And we have second distinguished speaker, Ik-hwan is Vice President of SK Telecom and leading Metaverse Service and Technology Development Group. He is representing and leading Metaverse Service Development and AR/VR Service Research Group. As you already know, SK Telecom is the leading company in Korea in terms of Metaverse and AR/VR service development and enabling technologies. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Jo.
Thank you.
Okay, so as I mentioned, so many people are talking about the metaverse, and many industries, especially not even IT technology, IT industries, but with the traditional industry, has some huge interest in metaverse. So let's talk about what is the metaverse? How would it be different with the ordinary or usual virtual reality, virtual world? For example, game world. Maybe Dan, can you share us your vision, your view?
So what is the metaverse? There are many definitions, but I prefer to always keep it simple. So in one way, it's a collective virtual space that converge the physical and the digital world together. It's a sum of virtual worlds, augmented reality, virtual reality, and the internet. You could say that this is the next phase of the internet, in short.
So mixing virtual reality and augmented reality with internet is something a bit confusing. How virtual reality can be mixed with augmented reality?
It's very simple. If you think about the virtual world, you are essentially immersed in an artificial environment. If you think about an augmented reality world, you are superimposing your reality. But just think for a second that you take a virtual reality and you turn off certain aspects of the virtual world. So you have a certain level of opacity, meaning see-through. Suddenly, you have augmented reality. So you can imagine a situation where you are at a train station and you have some time for yourself. You create the proximity of, let's say, 3 meters on each location where you have an augmented reality / virtual reality space. But if you step outside that virtual space becomes reality. So you can have that blended environment. And most devices, glasses that we see in the future, eventually will have the ability to switch so you can be more virtual or more augmented, depending on the opacity that the glasses enable you to have.
So your definition of metaverse is the kind of mixed reality between the reality and the virtuality, and with help of internet, so participants can be interconnected.
Yep.
So how do
And
you
it will
think?
benefit. Yes.
Yes, you may continue.
Yeah, so you can think about it in a way that in the physical world, you'll have an illuminated world, a world where inanimate objects, including your toaster, have ability to communicate and provide you information. So you live in a way that's highly illuminated, where artificial intelligence feeds information in real time. So the metaverse will enable you to be, if you will, a superhuman, where you get constant information updated and you're not blind for the data, so to speak. So that's in the physical world. But then you can reverse it and think in the digital space, where we today are enslaved in frames, small frames like this, where people look, it looks very silly. That frames will be broken and we will have the digital space surrounding us, very much the same as we have reality. So our digital space will be much more user friendly, much more natural, and our physical space will be much more enriched, much more illuminated.
Okay. How do you think, Dr. Joe, you might have some similar or different opinion on these definitions?
Yeah, so the about the definition of the metaverse, I also think about there are a lot of the ambiguous, sometimes the very, how can I say, some abstract definition we meet. So in our perspective, I just want to define the metaverse. Metaverse is some kind of the virtual social life platform. That means I just we just focus. I mean, there's some for the definition or more at the higher levels. It means it is some the digital, the virtual world, and the people just live and they create something or they enjoy it or share with other people. So. In this definition, the most important thing is the social interaction or social communication. That I mean is that actually the people always connect to this platform or to this world, and they share and they in I mean the daily life and they lives in the kind of the with kind of the some social activity with other people. So this is very important. They also communicate to each other in the metaverse and do anything. So in this metaverse, people just can be anyone they want to be, or they can do anything that they want to do. So this is a very the can I say high level of the freedom we have. So the main difference is I think the with some the normal the virtual world or something like that the game is the social communications. So that means that actually from the beginning of the virtual game is a very long history. It has on the some digital virtual world is the same. I mean the some the definition, but the beginning of the game is that they have some kind of a very simple, and some objective in this game. It's kind of some the entertainment or the how can I say these kind of things. So of course, a lot of games that has some social communication features in there. This is some maybe we just call the multiplayer games there. So I think that the this kind of the game also be one of the some metaverse. So it can be the starting point for the more the idea towards some the idea the metaverse, and then for example, if some games doesn't have some social communication, I mean the social interaction with another people or another player, it is very hard to call that this is the metaverse. So I mean the in the metaverse definition, I think the most important the part or definition is the social communication with people. So because the metaverse is another world with based on the people and some kind of the communication, I think.
Oh, thank you very much. If I combine your opinions, then I might say that metaverse is a kind of the virtual world that is highly connected socially and to
Right.
the real world. So
Yeah.
our activity and experience in virtual world can be extended and continued in the real world and vice versa. So, thank you very much for giving us the good definition. And my second question would be the what can be done? If it is so, what can be done in metaverse? Would it be suitable only for a few special cases, or would it be general enough to change our daily life? If it is changing our daily life, how we can? So maybe Dr. Joe, you may share your experience.
Yeah. So as I commented, as we did share the same our vision, the metaverse is very complicated, and maybe ideal metaverse is the ideal metaverse, and we need more time. But I think that maybe from the starting point for the metaverse is that the specific area will be very matchable for our daily life use case. For example, actually the metaverse is a virtual world, and for the better communication between the people. So as you know, the COVID-19 makes a new kind of the category in our daily life. For example, is the unticked communication. That means that actually the natural the communication way is that some contact communication. If you can meet some people in the face to face, is very natural. But unfortunately, the unticked communication is mandatory in this the period. So maybe I think that some people, or all people, just trying to make or to create the better communication way in this very hard the situation. So the alternative way is the video conferencing, or we need more the better the experience for the other some the very different kind of the situations. So I think that the some alternative the way this kind of the metaverse communication. So that means that because the unticked communication situation is basically the far away between the people. So from the based on the virtual environment, we can communicate each other. This is very new experience. I think that it can be very good opportunity to start toward the metaverse. This is very natural. That means which means is the people just trying to look for the better the way to experience or the better to communicate. So I think that right now we need more time to the metaverse in the general life. But I think that is the already they started to the in the daily life to the go forward into the metaverse. So I think that the based on we already tried some the metaverse service, and the technology and the service and contents. The evolution will lead more faster the transformation to the metaverse in the daily life, I think.
Oh, thank you very much. So you are thinking that metaverse is a kind of new communication platform, so that
Mhm.
way of communicating, way of just the interacting, way of making relations of people in daily life will be changed hugely using the metaverse.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and do you have some other examples or some specific examples that the metaverse can change the industries or life?
Yeah, I'm actually writing a book about this, and hopefully it will be released if I have time by the end of the year. But in the book, I group it in three phases. I look at the short term, mid-term, and long term. So I think short term examples is what E.ON already is doing. 73 countries already have adopted our platform, using it for learning, for training, and performing. And that's very important way because our brains work exactly like the virtual world. If you think about it, if you study brains today, when we are born without any 3D maps of anything. But eventually, you can see my bottle. If I put this bottle in front of you, you have already a 3D map in your brain of this, which contains a lot of rich information. You know, the shape. What happens is that when you send impulses to your brain, the brain recognizes this. It knows, for example, that you have to turn it counterclockwise to open it. So that knowledge exists, and the way the metaverse and the encapsulation of the knowledge is doing the same thing. So it's a natural way for us to learn, for train to perform. So short term, I think this benefits in gaming, we know that, engineering, but also in what I-hwan is doing, which is knowledge transfer. So that's the short term. The midterm application will be vast. You will see applications, everything from kids having with them AI avatars that can answer those questions. You know, when you were 4 years old and you ask, Daddy, Daddy, why is the sky blue? And that person provides you this information in time. Or elder people that may suffer from, you know, the various illnesses, Alzheimer, and they start to get confused where this metaverse capability holds them longer at home instead in a hospital. But I'm really excited about the long term perspective. And this is perhaps the most controversial part I'm going to say tonight, which is that if you look at humanity, we stand at the brink of an intelligence explosion. Over the last, 2.5 million since humans have been on Earth, we have a very slow development of intelligence, but now this spikes. So the problem with this is almost in every aspect of human life, artificial intelligence overtakes humans. So we are at the choice. On the left side, we can allow these machines to overpower us and become useless, sideshows, or we can use this machine to empower us to become superhumans. So I think the metaverse and augmented virtual reality is that bridge, that natural bridge between humans and machines that links us and enable us in an intuitive way to have those powers. So I see this as the very beginning of the unification process that will take maybe decades to achieve. But the metaverse 1.0 will be the first link. And the bandwidth of information when we need it will be instantly. So instead of me using a phone and looking up something, I will get that inside my brain instantly. So that type of metaverse for knowledge transfer for life will be extremely exciting for my children and grandchildren.
Okay, so then you are talking about the metaverse can be a platform for communication, not even for the communication with people, but the changing the way of people manipulating the informations and extendably to the machines. So if I combine all your ideas, the metaverse is a kind of platform that enable people to interact more in new way or more freely, and by exchanging the experiences, and also people enabling people to observe and manipulate or even create new informations and to operate or kind of the interacting with the machines. So
Be
that
empowered.
reminds me, my
Yeah.
empower. That's the correct word. Thank you. That reminds me my first experience with the mobile phone about 25 years ago. When I first got the mobile phone, I didn't think that it will change my daily life. For example, one example is 25 years ago when I have a meeting with somebody, then what I ask them is, I will meet you in the exactly number 5 exit of the subway station, and I will hold this bag and I wear this kind of the clothes. So we have very exact description. We need to do it. But with the mobile phone, people just are talking that I will wait you around there. You will call me when you arrive there. So it is changing the our daily life by always connected one. With metaverse, I think people can hold and can exchange not only the information, but their daily experiences, like their experience on the tourist or their experience on the work, their experience on the education, as Dan mentioned. So metaverse will open a new avenue for every part of the daily life and every part of the industry.
Right.
Then it comes to me a question that as a technologist, I have experienced many virtual reality systems. In the last decades, there were similar services and technologies that we might call metaverse. For example, in early 90s, technology like you might heard about it, or dive systems, which is the multi-user virtual reality systems. Maybe Dan knows about it. And
I
we
sold a
were
lot of dive
enabling to,
systems.
yes. So it enables many users to share virtual worlds. And quite recently, once popular Second Life system looks like a quite similar with current metaverse services. How would the new this metaverse be different with these previous ones? Maybe Dan would give us your opinion.
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, I've been seeing all this technology over the last 22 years coming and going, and the road is littered with cadavers. 99% of these people didn't survive. So, but to answer your question, the big difference, right? The technology matures and it reaches a critical mass. One important component that wasn't in dive system or have all those technologies that you mentioned is the portability aspect, the cost aspect. So now 4.4 billion people already have a mobile device. That's the vast majority of humanity. We know where they are, who they are, what they do, and the ability to have that presence and to superimpose information contextually, I think, is a big difference, right? Which is almost required for a metaverse experience, at least the merging of the physical and the real. You couldn't carry with you the computer, so to speak, in the train station or wherever you are. So I think that, and then I think so already now we have a distinct uh, requirement fulfilled. But the next big jump, which the $1 trillion war that we are about to witness between giants like Facebook and Apple and Microsoft and most likely Samsung perhaps, of owning your nose or your head, so to speak, when glasses are there and you have a supercomputer on your nose that is connected with the cloud. That is kind of the next level that makes it possible to realize the vision of metaverse. So we are now realizing it with phones in a very primitive way that wasn't possible even 5 years ago. And we are moving towards in the next 5 years to 10 years to a world where you'll be constantly connected. And when of some reason take your glasses off and try to accomplish something, you'll be highly inefficient. And some people will also experience a psychosis if they are asked to remove themselves from this blended world because they, if you think you're addicted to your phone now, wait until you see this.
Okay, so you are talking that about 5 years ago or even 20 years ago, we didn't have the devices, the mature technologies to enable us to be connected with the physical world, even in the virtual world. Is it right?
Correct. And
Okay,
we didn't have
how
cloud
do you?
computing. There's many things we didn't have. Yeah.
Mhm. Then how do you think, Dr. Zhu?
Uh, Maybe it's the compared to the second life. I mean the want to tell about some kind of the service. I mean the time to for the second life to use the second life is that we had to use on the PC in your desk and on the home. So it has some the I think that there's some connection problem that means between the real and the virtual life, which means actually the metaverse. The what we want is not just the what can I say some the cabling to the brain like the some Matrix movie is not the ideal case. So that means that we have to switch the real life to the virtual life, and from the virtual life to the real life. It it should be the very smoothly the exchange. I mean, the switching from the real and the virtual life. So for this kind of the things that the always connected the network infrastructure is very necessary. But unfortunately, at the time, the second life is the PC-based infrastructure and the service is not for the good for the some kind of the always connected, always just switched to the virtual and the virtual the real life. So I think this is very critical. So unfortunately, the second life is the firstly it just the what can I say some the very popular for the most I mean the I think that the most popular the service in the world at that time, but it has problem with the persistent the continued the service. So I think that now we have a lot of some the technology evolution, including some the graphics, computations, and something like that. But the most important thing is that we can connect the mobile internet every time, anytime, anywhere. So this is the 4G and the 3G anyway. This kind of the mobile infrastructure provided the hyper connected the infrastructure with the very high speed, very stable connection to the internet. So you can if you want to connect to the metaverse or something like the digital space, you can connect anyway, anytime. This is very good and very important thing. Is this is very big difference I think is that. So maybe I think the that kind of the very critical point in the mobile the network infrastructure is we ready, and in future maybe we can meet some more advanced infrastructure. So then, which means is that maybe your the hyper-connected life is the can be the display your all around the device, not just the smartphone, not just some kind of these things that in your car they always connected in your can I say some when you drive the car and you can enjoy the mobile connected the life. So that means the as I commented, the very important thing is the switch the can I say some smooth switch experience between the real and the virtual life. Virtual life is I mean this in the metaverse, and in the future world, you can very smoothly and with your all around the device and you can use that kind of things. So this is very big difference, and I think the at this time that we are ready to evolve our metaverse from now, and the speed to the transformation for the metaverse and more the faster and the faster I think.
Thank you. So we all have some kind of agreements that the metaverse is different with the previous services because it is enabling us smooth transition or highly integrated with the real world with help of mobile devices or hyperconnectivity or whatever the new devices would be. So with that, we can have a new services, new experiences, and new way of sharing our experiences. Okay, then the key question about the people is now many people are experiencing virtual world with the heavy devices like HMDs and clouds or some other devices. But still, people think that this experience is not real as real experience, real social interactions. It is not real social interaction. People think that. Some others, in spite, think that it could eventually substitute real interactions with some devices. I think that currently there is a clear difference due to technology limitations between virtual experience and real experience. For example, haptics or even visuals are a bit different. Could it become the same as the real? If it would become, what would be the key enabling technology or aspect to enable it? Or if you think it is not, what would be better with the metaverse for the social interactions? Maybe Dr. Cho, can you share your visions?
Yeah, this is. I think this is very good question. Is that we have to think about that. So I think the first of all, we need to think about what real the social interaction is. This is very complicated in this life. Maybe the real social interaction means some kind of the face-to-face, the physical interaction. I mean, the very short area. It is very hard to talk about that because we already lives in the complicated and in the digital life. So that means that the physical, the social interaction is not all things I think. So I think the human has a basic instinct and the desire to the social, the communication, the social interaction. This is very important. Uh, just the human just want to share their feeling and their daily life, their what can I say, some kind of the event and everything that happened in their life. This is very human's the instinct, I think. So based on this human instinct and the desire, all social communication, all social interaction, we can create. Human just to create what invented the various way to the communication for that. So from the history, human always they find a way to communicate to each other, people, even if they lived together or that they lived far away each other. They just try to find a way to communicate each other. This is very important. So the basic fundamental for the social interaction is this one. So right now, we can use the social the communication interaction in which means is that based on the digital communication ways that we always social communication, social they use it some kind of social the interaction with other people. So for the social interaction, some means that real social interaction means uh, I think that the social interaction in the metaverse is that we will provide more the different and the new experience. This is very important, I think. The as becomes, I mean, the technology becomes the evolved the more and more. Some people or the human just to find a new way to communicate. For example, every day in this day, the everyday used. We all use social media to communicate with another people. This also can be this is very the one of the very big part of the social interaction in this life. So and in the metaverse, I think we also try to, or the human just to try to the create or invent a new kind of the social interaction way. For example, maybe you can use the VR devices that you can enjoy the fully telepresence that experience, which means that if you are the far from each other, you are I mean, the Dan and I maybe communicate each other if we are the meet in front of in the table together. So this is a new experience for the social the interaction. It can be more than similar. I mean, the maybe we can simulate the real physical the social interaction, but we also to find a way the new things that the kind of the way to communicate to each other, even though so maybe some people just they make some of their new characters and they just the try to the what can I say some the express their own the feeling or the some kind of event that they thought with another people. So this is uh, I think that this is very natural because the social interaction in the digital way or the digital evolutions, social interaction way also evolved more and more. And in the metaverse, maybe we will find a new way for this more better the social interaction, I think.
Wow, very interesting view. So you are talking that the social interaction in metaverse may not be necessary to be equal with the real interactions. Maybe it will
Yes,
make a new array of interactions.
right.
That's a really good point. I think once I gave my new HMDs to my daughter, she is 7 years old, and my wife and I always find out and always try to adapt to the content itself, but
Right.
she is finding a new thing and she is finding a new way
Yes.
of interaction in the virtual world. So I do agree with your point of view. It's a very interesting. How do you
Yeah.
think then?
New people in the new generation.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I really agree. I agree with your both your statements, and personally, I'm quite skeptical that we'll reach in the near time, 10, 20 years, of immersed environment that is matching reality. For that to happen, I mean, we can today easily stimulate two senses. We can be good at visual, we are pretty good at audio, but we're still far away from realistic. But we are no near to when it comes to touch, taste, scent. All these things are not there yet. And but I agree that that's not necessary, right? Already with the ability to what I'm doing now, Eon has a new software called Spatial Meetings, where I can invite you basically to come here to Pantanal in Amazon and walk with me in a primitive way, just using your phone and talk with me, and we can take a walk here for about 100 meters back and forth that I scanned. That will give you a new sense of presence, right? Of sharing information. So I don't think it's necessary to really replicate life, but to enrich it, to keep going back to my comments about the intelligence explosion, where we are becoming much more interlinked with artificial intelligence and we become so-called human 2.0 superhumans. Imagine a table conversation that I had today about various topics where we argue about is this true or not, and pick up my phone and check the facts. All those will be not necessary. So we will elevate our social interaction to a new dimension. And I'm wondering also if we reach a situation where using technology, not, I don't think augmented virtual reality will be able to get this to be fully immersed or replicate reality. You need something like Neuralink, where you actually connect directly with your synapses to stimulate things like full touch. And I think when we are there, you're already in a very interesting territory, because if you have an equal social experience in the virtual world as you have in the physical, to the extent that you cannot distinguish one from the other, you are in the simulation theory, right? I'm sure you heard about that. And that, I believe, will take a long time, if ever. But nevertheless, in the next 5 years, 10 years, or already today, we will break the mold of these frames, which we are all enslaved today, which is a very unnatural way to communicate. And even today's social media, we will laugh at social media and Twitter when we'll have this rich, all-encompassing way of social acting. We as humans like to touch, smell, hear, and be a part of it. And already there, we will, even in the just visually and auditory, and be able to be spatial versus linked to a frame, will be a huge improvement in our social interaction with friends that are like we are now on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, that's so the Neuralink might be quite controversial. I am personally quite objective for it, but anyway, it will be a one way in long term, maybe 50 years later or 100 years later. But in a short term, I do agree with you. So the real copy of the real world may not be necessary. Maybe we can have some abstract view or more easier copy or easier representation of the real interactions or real the world that can be helpful for users to interact. So that's a quite an interesting view. Maybe I can give you related questions. So we were talking about the devices to be connected always, device to capture the world, the wherever, whenever you are. But in other aspect, to use the virtual reality, we need to have a heavy gear like HMDs and high performance PCs. Some other devices might not, but many devices still require high performance PCs, which requires huge cost for individuals. Does Metaverse will need all those gears, for example, to provide haptics or sound? A sound is okay, but haptics or smell or these things, or If not, how new technology could help people experience better with the low cost devices so that everybody or many people can experience metaverse. What is your view? Dan, please.
Yeah, I mean, my view is very consistent with what we see in the last 2 decades and before that, that the devices become smaller, cheaper, faster, better, that they become less visual, more portable. You'll see that today we hold in our hands some very clumsy devices. Those will be very easy strips. The glasses are still, very clumsy. They will become eventually lenses that you can just push in your eyes. And so the future, I see the future to be less technical and more organic. You will probably, if you look a longer time, almost not see that the person has devices. They will be so natural. But we have a period here of 10, 20 years where it's actually a very difficult problem to solve to miniaturize those devices. And as I said, I think things like, for example, tactile, haptic. I've been working with haptic for 20 years. It's a very difficult problem to solve. And I cannot see people using extra skeletons or things like that. It has to be something that almost circumvents, goes directly to experience feedback.
So you're thinking that some devices will be appeared, so small devices to stimulate haptics,
Mhm.
maybe neuro connections or maybe not, but these devices will appear. Until then, we will
Yeah,
adapt to current situations. Okay, so
correct.
Dr. Joe, you might have some different view, or what do you think?
Mm, Actually, I have some the different the view about these topics. So I think that the real the head-mounted display device, this kind of device is just is not the mandatory for the metaverse because I think that this kind of the gears are this just kind of the tool to experience the metaverse. That means the tool can be more the barriers there from the some low level device, more the high level device, and low cost and high cost. That means the metaverse is, as I commented, the metaverse is the virtual world, and we have the real world, and we have virtual world for the metaverse. That means that we need some tool uh, to connect or to reach or to see some the metaverse. Is all kind of the things and the experience. So we have a very convenient and a very smart device. We already have the device, some kind of this smartphone. This actually even if there is a very small screen, but you can always connect it to the metaverse. That means that you can just have the very small and the high mobility device. This is can be. I think that this can be the good choice for the beginning of the metaverse experience. So of course, if you have some the more the high cost the VR devices, I think that we can enjoy the more the immersive the natural experience. But the fundamental for the metaverse is, as I commented, uh, the most important thing is that they always connected, and that means the very smooth the switching from the real life to the virtual life. This is very important, and this is the first priority, I think. And then the technology evolution is to maybe make them the device more the AR or the VR device more affordable for the the users as and for this kind of the evolution, I think the we need some the positive the cycle for the some the very some service and some kind of some hardware. That means the more traffic and the more people to use or to enjoy the new kind of experience, the service, and then you can read some kind of the more, what can I say, some the invested to the hardware. That means the more invested to the hardware, that means that makes some the more affordable the device. So this is a very the positive circulation. So all these areas, the what can I say, is very strategically approached at these kind of things that this metaverse. As I the role of the service area, technology area, we just try to make some new experience, new service. Even those we just provide just a smartphone, not just the AR glass right now. I mean, there's some the more popular and more affordable AR glass, but we are everywhere. We are always trying to make or to invent new things. So that means that I believe that our trial, this kind of the things that for the better experience that will lead more to invest to the hardware or that kind of company. So this is very important. So as I defined it, the metaverse is a new one. So we need uh, maybe in the future we also have the very kind of the device, more low cost, very small device, or and you can the okay some uh, the where maybe in your watch that you can enjoy the metaverse in the future, and also I just hope the more the lightweight and the more small but the more the immersive the device will be the best things for the metaverse. For example, that some AR glass or some contact lens will be best things, but I think that we need more time, and for this one is that I think that we all just to try to make some new things, that new experience, I think.
Thank you. So we all agree that eventually we will have very lightweight or affordable new devices to enable us to experience the real experience or good experience in virtual world. Before that, we will have some kind of the adaptation period using the current devices or some low-cost devices to enable us to experience the real things. So
Mhm.
in that terms of it, what I call the persistency and consistency of the stimulation would be the good key. So there
Right.
are some researchers doing the research on the pseudo haptics. So without haptic devices, people might feel that there is a haptic feelings. So that to enable that, we need to provide some type of persistent stimulus using visual stimulus or auditory stimulus, and also consistent the interactions should be provided. So what Dr. Cho called always connected and always providing smooth transition is the way of providing this persistency and consistency. So that is the thing that we need to consider without a new device. Maybe eventually, as you said, that the development of the metaverse services will lead the technology development in the devices. But before that, we will design a new content that will provide the good experiences in the virtual world. Then there is the related issues with the virtual reality technologies, especially before the virtual reality technology in terms of communication with new media and internet. We observed that despite of our expectations, social discrimination and inequality has become big issues. We believe that with the internet, it will lessen the discrimination, it will lessen the inequality, but it eventually makes it worse. So letting the people be gathered with only those with the similar thoughts and ideas, or letting some people anonymously express those hatred or discrimination which they would not be in doing in the real life, or some many people still not be connected to the internet or these kind of things. Will it be happening in the metaverse? If so, what should we do to prevent it or to make it better? So maybe as a service company, SK Telecom might have some kind of view or vision for it.
Yeah, this is very hard question. This is a very hard question. Is because this issue is not just the technology issues, not just the services, not just content issues. I think that I just define that this one is very critical, very important. The social issue, I think. So the metaverse, as I commented, the metaverse is a social. What can I say? It's a people and the socialization based some the new virtual community. That means the metaverse also by the people, by the human. So we need some kind of the we think that this the metaverse also is some new society. So we need to approach this issue is like that. So I think that unfortunately the metaverse is the beginning of the metaverse is this kind of the bad thing is bad experience. It can be the more easier because the metaverse is basically we just it's based on the concept is the just the people just can be the transform the new avatar or the new character or the new identity. That means that even if it is new, the virtual avatar or the character is the identically to the same to the real one, but just the people just to think about that this is a new one and no one about them, no one about me. I mean, there's some the new the digital character. So this can read some kind of the anonymous the experience. So they just more easier to express more the how can I say the unsuitable the expression or the more easier to cross the line because this is very the easier to break down their moral standard, their own moral standard as a human society. So I think that we already take this the we already take this the issue in the challenge in the metaverse community. So I think the first of all maybe we need the metaverse community guideline. I think so. It is very hard to define the ones because we need more the advanced this kind of the community rules. Fortunately, I think the current or the from the past the a lot of the social media company or the social media service have been the similar or the same the problem though, and they are already considering about that. So from this lessons will be very valuable for the establish the metaverse the community guideline. So maybe as I commented, this is a very hard question, and I think as the service provider, we have already we feel that this is a very huge responsibility as some the service provider for the metaverse service. But I think the another the important thing is some kind of the balance. Balance means that even if we are the service provider, but we don't we must not control the people. That we just trying to make some the balance between the some kind of the guideline and some kind of the people's experience. So I think this is the to be honest, this is a starting point for the meet or the resolve this kind of the new issue. But because this is a new way, I mean the we never meet this kind of the issues because the metaverse is just the beginning. So we have to I think that we have to starting the how the consider how to the make some guideline for the social community in the metaverse for more the people's better communication or the experience.
Thank you. And how do you think, Dan?
Unfortunately, the metaverse will be much, much worse. But on the flip side, it will be much, much better than technologies we have today, just because of its nature being more immersive, more rich, more illuminating. Unfortunately, nothing has changed whether we talk about gunpowder, chemical industry, or internet, right? All these new technology initially were used for not necessarily good things. Internet is a good example, right? Initially, porn was running internet, right? It was the biggest usage. And eventually we see it has matured today that it saves life, DNA research, space exploration, whatever you look at, climate change, uh, white papers for scientists. So I think we are responsible. We all are responsible in this industry to work for the positive things, right? It's not evident that a technology like this will be used for the positive. Look at social media. It has derailed, polarizing people and resulting in what we saw in United States, January 6th, right? And social media is responsible. So we all have a responsibility. But the reason I'm optimistic is that if you look what has propelled humanity for the last 70,000 years since we came from Africa, is that we are curious. We want to explore. It's an intrinsic human quality. And if we can work towards that, and I personally I'm 59, I'm planning to dedicate the next 10, 15 years of, I would say, my remaining career to do something better, to use this technology to live life in a better way than I came, and to embrace this technology for things like I already mentioned, to help kids learn better, to tickle their curiosity, right? I think the rules and the community rules are important, but fundamentally is that we provide applications that address that human need. And I think that over time, I'm very optimistic. I think humanity will prevail. Uh, it will also use this to solve the bigger problem that I mentioned earlier, which is, the arrival of the explosion of the intelligence, where we actually are standing on the shoulder of these AI giants versus being enslaved by them. So short-term positive, although we'll have some shaky periods. We see that metaverse today dominates in gaming, right? And a lot of gaming is shooting, violence, but it's the start. While people like ourselves, and I'm sure SK Telecom works on the positive side, right? So we try to balance this. So overall optimistic, but it's both bad and good.
Yeah, I do agree with both of you. So with this metaverse, it's highly connected to the physical world, the real world. So in terms of that, we have more ability to impose kind of social rules or kind of regulations or educate people or guiding people to use it more proper way in spite of the previous communication method, which is more separated world. So the people will have a separate identity or these kind of things. But with the metaverse, it could be highly connected to the real world. So I would say I'm more optimistic on use of the metaverse technology for the social interactions. So we are running to the end of the session. So I have a very brief questions. So with virtual reality, I think the current interactions will be changed from the information exchange to the experience exchange. Can you briefly give us some kind of the new applications that might appear in a few years using the metaverse technologies? So Dan, please.
Yeah. So if you look at the last 150 years, we invented images, movies, etc., all based on frames, right? So that's very limited. Although we now store them in a digital way, etc. So what's happening now is that we move from frames and predefined images, stories to spatial computing, spatial environments. That opens the Pandora box for a lot of things. So you can walk through an experience. Now, what can you do with that? I mean, there's a range of things. It will impact all aspects of our life. Things like engineering, right? The ability to design things. Things like commerce, the ability to exchange and do broker deals in a way that doesn't require travel. Enterprise, gaming. So more or less all aspects of life. I'm excited, obviously, about knowledge transfer, how I illuminate brains, how I acquire information in a more efficient way. But the short answer is that it will impact everything.
Okay, so I do agree, but our audience might have an interest in what they will experience in short time. Maybe SK Telecom might have a vision or the plan for it.
Yeah, the personally, I love this word, the experience sharing, and first of all, does someone think about the it's already. I just want to talk about our company. Does someone think the SK Telecom is certainly interested in the metaverse, but actually the VR company to the help or to provide some the communication between the people and the people. So we have some the persistent in the missions. We have to help the people's communication the more better and better. This is our the persistent communicate the mission from the beginning of the company. So the metaverse is I think the new kind of the communication experience, and this is our mission. Is we have to create, we have to invent more better way for the people. So, for example, this is a experience, the communication experience, kind of transformation or the sharing. I mean, for example, for the education or this kind of thing is actually some the shy people just it's not easy to communicate each other in the physical in this situation. But I think the metaverse is in the positive way. Even though they are the shy people in the communication, but they are easy to engage in some of the communication in the meta because they don't have to show that they are the face or the voice in the indirectly. So with the virtual world, the virtual space, and the virtual avatar, and they can just communicate more and better and better. So this is a good experience. I think the good new experience for the communication. This is can be the good example, I think.
Thank you. So maybe in a few years we will have our own avatars. Everybody will have our own avatars in the metaverse.
Of course.
Great. Thank you. So thank you very much for sharing your insightful views and opinions. I would love to talk with you more, but we have a limited time. So maybe we can discuss or we can answer to the questions to our audiences on the online. So as the last questions or word, would you please give us some comments on important things as a developers for the metaverse should consider for the next generation with metaverse? Dr. Joe, please.
Yeah. So I just want the tell the developers the metaverse developer is not just a programmer to make some the code. So I just emphasize you are or they are the world builder, some kind of the world builder to create a new social community, social world. So it is like the God. So that means that as a world builder, we have to try to new and positive experience that for people. For it, we need more the careful approach because as a builder, you can make people happy or unhappy, or sometimes sad or not sad. So we must remember we are not just a developer. We just the world builder, and we can control. We can make some the difference or the good or positive or the negative way to the people's daily life. So I just add more the comment just to the developer. First of all, be good person. I think.
Oh, that's the important point. So do you have other comments then?
Yeah, I really like the comment, but my compliment there is to do a KISS, keep it simple, stupid. What I mean by that is we need to engage a vast community, millions of people to build the metaverse. So our responsibility as developers is to create these tools that are no code, easy to use, that are engaging, and that enable people to create their own experiences in their communities, right? We talk about citizen science, where people are proud. I've seen now people here, wherever I go, they are so proud to create and show off their communities and build their piece of the metaverse. So I think it brings. I'll give an example. So every morning I wake up, I look what's been created. So now we have 73 countries active with more than 1 million people that license takers that actually are building it, and 95% are just using their phones. So when I see an experience at this street market in Rwanda, or something in Laos. And another thing that I see with this, which I think is a responsibility, is to help nation leapfrog. Not only Korea, if I go back 50 years, you were the one of the poorest countries on earth, but thanks to technology and your drive, have been achieving to be a leader. And I think we have the same responsibility to enable those tools for people to leapfrog in developing countries. So I want to make this type of knowledge a human right and to make it available, accessible, and affordable for everybody on the planet.
So both of you give me the similar answers. So developers should consider the people and should consider the affordability, should consider their responsibility of developing a technology. And it comes to me as a when I digest all the discussion we have done, it comes to me as one last question, another last question. Sorry for it. Will there be a one big metaverse, or will there be a thousands or millions of different metaverse?
So I
What do you
think
think, Dan?
the
Yeah,
it is
go
a
for
very
it.
hard question. Is the I think that maybe we can see that the similar kind of similar what can I say similar point of view in our history or I mean the digital the community. I think that so I think that actually the human is a social animal. So that means the social animal is not just the single social community. So this is very natural for the human, I think. So maybe human is there are a lot of the characteristic for the diversity for the human. So that things that it means I think that maybe in the metaverse period I think a lot of the metaverse that the community where the service can be the appeared I think.
So maybe when I'm in my room, when I press the button in my mobile phone, it becomes the party room. And next moment, when I press the button, it becomes the seminar room with the
Right.
seminar people.
So
Okay.
actually, it's not just a
And
single metaverse. It's kind of the multiples. Maybe we just hear that kind of the keyword from the movie. It can be that the multiples because some type of the metaverse, another type of the metaverse, and maybe I can join the multiple type of the metaverse service or platform. I think.
yeah, that must be interesting. How do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I do hope, like internet, that's one, and I do hope that it's open for everybody to use. But I agree that what's going to happen is that, I mean, it happens today. If you look at how we build the metaverse, the knowledge metaverse, everybody creates a little piece of puzzle, and we encourage people then to share in the common good. So there's little dots on the global map that we have small islands today with metaverse experiences, and we hope this will mushroom over the coming years to become this all-encompassing. And you will choose to share certain things openly for the common good, and you will choose to protect certain things of various reasons. But yes, you can argue it's multiple layer, but there's also a common environment that is kind of open source or open for everybody.
So when you say that there is a common platform, but there will be some
Mhm.
kind of sub-society on top of the metaverse. So
Yep.
if we can make a common platform, so Eon Reality or SK Telecom, I think they have a good potential to make a common platform for the metaverse. So I would love to see this common platform in a few years so that I can create my own metaverse on it. So
Thank you.
in
Thank
short,
you.
what we have discussed today is the metaverse is the thing that make us be connected, the cyberspace with the real world, and the information with myself, and me with the other people or virtual people or real people with it, so that this kind of the changing, it will change our way of communicating, and this change will change not only our daily life but also all the industries, the way of education, way of working, way of discussion, even with the physical operation will be changing. And to enable it, we may not need the heavy technologies, but with
Hmm.
the always connected experiences, it will enable us with the current mobile technologies or small devices will enable us to experience these things so that it will change our way of experiencing. It will enable us to share the experience. So thank you very much sharing the great view, and this will conclude today's webinar. And we hope to continue your work in Metaverse so we can enjoy your works. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor
감사합니다.
Kim. Thank you, Jen. Dan. Good
Thank
talking.
you.
Thank you.